Everyone, thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm just going to wait a minute or two while we allow everyone the opportunity to log on. So just hang tight. Okay, I think that everyone has had the opportunity to log on, so that's great. So hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Just note that this webinar is going to be recorded, so if you do miss anything or need to log out before the end, we'll be sending this recording along and probably using it over the next month too to send off to other inquiries and such. So this definitely does go to good use. But just wanted to, let's start off with some introductions. So my name is Hannah Campbell. I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Admission here at Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. And I work with candidates that are applying to our Doctor of Optometry program. I'm also joined here with some of our current students as well as one of our faculty members. So I'll allow them to introduce themselves. We'll start with Sierra, if you don't mind.
Sure. So my name's Sierra. I am a second year in the optometry program, so almost halfway done. And I'm originally from Milford, Connecticut.
And we have Samir.
So I'm Samir. I'm a third year optometry student, I guess more than halfway now. I'm originally from Toronto, Ontario.
And last but not least, Dr. O'Leary.
Hello, welcome. My name's Dr. O'Leary. I'm an associate professor here. I have been here for almost 10 years now, and I primarily teach in our pediatrics and binocular vision curriculum, but happy to jump on and answer any questions that anybody has about the program. So welcome.
Great, thank you guys. We're all pleased to be here this evening to talk to you about the School of Optometry here at MCPHS. So during this session, we're going to talk not only about the university, about our program and how to apply. Then we'll finish up with a Q&A session to address really any other questions that you might have that we weren't able to touch on throughout this presentation. Hoping that we are able to kind of answer the majority of your questions throughout this, as it's very informative. So please feel free to submit a question in the Q&A box throughout the presentation if anything does come to mind, and we'll address it at the end. So without further ado, let's get started. So starting with just some basic information about MCPHS, if you aren't familiar with us, we are a healthcare specific university. We have over 100 programs in healthcare and the health sciences. So that's really our specialty here. And many of our faculty do still work clinically while they're working as our faculty members. So they're up-to-date providers, being active in the community, staying up-to-date on the current healthcare system. And with that, they're able to bring that back into the classroom for our students. And additionally, the students that are around you are also working towards other healthcare professions. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities through different school-sponsored events and activities where you'll have the opportunity to collaborate with these other professions, even before you enter the field. So that is something that we'll dive into a little bit more in a couple of slides here. And we've been around for quite a long time as an institution. We are the oldest institution for higher education in Boston. So that's had, quite a legacy under our belt. We just celebrated our 200th year anniversary back in 2023. So we did start as just a pharmacy program in Boston and have grown quite a lot over the last several decades. So we now have a student population of 7,500 students between our 3 campuses and online branch. And then, with that legacy, we've also been able to build and maintain some clinical affiliations with some of the leading medical institutions in the nation. So when it does come to choosing your externship sites, you're really going to have no shortage of options. We do have sites as far west as Alaska and California, as far south as Texas and Florida, and really everywhere in between. So you'll definitely have your fair share of choices when it does come time to that. So diving into our locations a little bit more, just so you have an overview of who we are. Like I said, we initially started as a pharmacy school in Boston, and the Boston campus is more so our undergraduate campus at this time, although we do have some grad programs there. Then we had the Worcester campus start in the year 2000, and then in 2002, we started our Manchester, New Hampshire campus. So we have professional phased programs specifically in Worcester and Manchester. So what that means is we don't have any freshman students at either of those locations. Everyone is working on a professional phased program. Most everyone has a bachelor's degree at least before they enter Worcester or Manchester. So very mature on-campus environment to be a part of. And the Worcester campus is where our optometry program takes place out of. And additionally, we do have online programs as well, quite a large online catalog. So students can take advantage of several degrees through our online programs as well, such as like an MPH or an MBA in healthcare business, and even some doctoral programs. So diving into the Worcester campus a little bit more, that is how you pronounce that word. I get mixed pronunciations all the time, every day. And, if you mispronounce it, don't worry, because we often don't pronounce it correctly ourselves. Because if you speak to a local around here, you might hear it referred to as Worcester. Just with the Boston accent, we don't really say our R's all that well. But Worcester, like I said, is where our optometry program exclusively takes place. We're only about 45 minutes outside of the city of Boston. So it's really still the metropolitan Boston area. And it's the second largest city in New England. You're really going to find healthcare right at your fingertips in this city, just as you would in Boston. St. Vincent's Hospital is just visible from our front steps. And then just down the street from us is UMass Memorial Medical Center. They have a medical school with an ophthalmology program. So we're lucky enough to have a pretty good partnership with them, where we not only refer some of our more complex patient cases, but we also might participate in some research opportunities with them as well. So that's nice that they're just down the street from us, in our sort of area of healthcare as well. So a little bit more about Worcester. We are an up and coming city, as they like to say. It was really an old mill town, and it's seen a lot of growth over the last several years. And NPR even deemed Worcester the new IT town back in 2018, just because it's seen so much growth. It's also a college town, so there's a lot of colleges and universities within a short radius of the city. And MCPHS sticks out quite well in the city, as you can see from the photo here. Our students walking around with their white coats on. You might notice Samir is wearing his white coat today, but just, kind of a sign of the professional phase of a program is our students get dubbed with a white coat. So they do stick out like a sore thumb for all the right reasons in the city, of course. And there's a lot to do in our city as well. There's a lot of entertainment. Our campus borders some of the really well-known spots of entertainment in the city. So just bordering our two main buildings is the Worcester Palladium, if you wanted to see sort of a like an indie band. There's the Hanover Theater for Broadway shows, Mechanics Hall for symphony orchestras, and the DCU Center for some like large scale events and hockey games and such. We also have two sports teams that are in the city of Worcester, including the Worcester Railers hockey team and the Worcester Red Sox, which is the minor league affiliates of the Boston Red Sox. So there's definitely a lot to do in the city, even within the city and outside of the city. If you're more into, the outdoors, there's Wachusett Mountain that's maybe 25 minutes away. You can do some skiing and snowboarding or some hiking in the warmer months. There's also a lot of highways in and out of the city. So if you wanted to get to some of the more touristy spots in New England, like the White Mountains or the Lakes region or the beach, it's a quick ride from Worcester. You can pretty much get to any New England state in about an hour from the city is how I like to compare it to. So very accessible. Amtrak runs from Worcester to New York City, or you can take a train from Worcester to Boston. It goes through multiple times a day. So really easy to get around here and a lot of fun stuff to do. I'd love to kind of ask our students, what are your favorite things to do in the city?
So,
Go for it, Samir.
okay. So what we usually do, there's like a bar arcade across 10 Lincoln. I think it's like $5 or $10 like each night. They have like different foods available, like pizza, snacks, or whatever. But they have a bunch of like arcade style games that it's like a fun like opportunity, like kind of like just leave the 10 Lincoln Square building and go find like some kind of entertainment literally across the street. Other than that, like my friend group, we've mainly explored a lot of the places to eat around Worcester. There's like a lot of like local cuisines that are like unique to Worcester that you may not find anywhere else, because you'll find like a Dunkin' or a McDonald's literally everywhere. But these like local bakeries, like cafes and coffee shops are very unique to like the style of like within Worcester. So we've gone to several places in the last like, I guess, 3-ish years that we've been here.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Restaurants in Worcester are definitely a big hit among us at MCPHS. I'm also more of an outdoorsy type, so I've done rock climbing at Central Rock in Worcester. We also have ice skating, and it's called the Oval. And I actually found out that it was in a couple of Hallmark movies, which is kind of cool too. So if you're interested in that during the winter months, they do that right after like the tree lighting every year.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've actually never done the ice skating on the oval, but I've been wanting to. Worcester has actually been featured in quite a few movies as of recent. Honest Thief, it's like a Liam Neeson movie. I remember walking down the street and seeing them film the police chase scene down Salisbury Street. So some cool things that have come to this city. You know, we're second largest city in New England, but not one to be missed for sure. So to tell you quickly what else happens here in Worcester, I mentioned that we'd have other programs. So with that, we have not only optometry, but we have physician assistant studies, occupational therapy, physical therapy, dental hygiene, sonography, nursing, pharmacy, and acupuncture. So we offer both Western and Eastern medicine here at this campus. And there are several on-site clinics that take place on our campus. So that includes for not only optometry, but dental hygiene, physical therapy, and acupuncture. So you can certainly take advantage of some of these services as a student, and you'll also see people from the community seeking services from our students as well. So one other unique feature to our campus is that we do offer on-campus housing. We have a pretty mature graduate community. As I said, most programs at least have a bachelor's degree, but those in sonography or dental hygiene might transfer into the program rather than complete a whole bachelor's before starting. But for the most part, everyone's working towards their own individual healthcare endeavors at this time. So it does really create a focused, mature on-campus environment. And all of these units that we have here include private rooms, so you'll never have to share a room with another student. We understand you're a graduate student, you're kind of past that point of wanting to share a bedroom with someone as you might have in your undergrad. So you can rest assured that no matter where you choose to live on campus, you'll have the privacy of your own room. We also have, 2-bedroom apartments where you might share a bathroom or kitchen space with other students. And our varieties of options, range from those that are more like economical to more luxurious, like private 1-bedroom apartments. So there's a lot of different options to choose from. We have some units that are in the same building where the optometry program takes place. And I know that Samir is one of our residents there. So would you be able to tell us about your experience living on campus and what it's like?
So, when an undergrad, I commuted, so I didn't really experience the true like living on campus, away from home stuff, because it didn't make any sense. But given I'm from Canada and I kind of applied during the whole like COVID-19 pandemic, so I didn't really have an idea with other places that would work well for me. I just knew I wanted my own bathroom, I wanted my own space. So living in 10 Lincoln has like fulfilled those like wishes that I had. At the same time, like all our classes, labs, clinics mainly are in this building. So it does work out for people who probably just want to get ready like 5-10 minutes before class, bring everything down, and then like be prepared for a lab, clinic, or whatever. One other thing, you kind of avoid like all the snow, the cold, and the rain. Given I'm from Canada, I guess I should like that kind of weather. I don't. So I do kind of enjoy like having everything in one place. Of course, there are limitations with that. You do have a 9th floor shared kitchen, but at the end of the day, like who are like students living in this building, and I myself, for an example, can make do with whatever we have. So using a 9th floor kitchen isn't really a big issue. I just find certain times of the week that it's emptier, so I could kind of use it for myself.
Yeah, so that's definitely the most convenient option, just to roll out of bed and head to class right from Lincoln Square. But there are also other options that are maybe a 10-minute walk from the optometry building. So nothing too crazy, but at least gives you some more like separation from the university to feel like you're more so living in a neighborhood style setting than rather right on campus. So a lot of different options to choose from. And we do have videos on our YouTube channel that really detail each of those residential options if you're interested in diving into those more closely. Sierra, you'll have to remind me, do you happen to live on campus yourself?
I do not know.
Okay, I didn't think so, but I wanted to just double check before I moved on. So kind of jumping into our next slide here, I did mention that we have a lot of opportunities to collaborate with other professions here. And this is a snapshot of, like I said, all the programs that we offer, several at the doctoral level, some master's programs, and a couple of post-baccalaureate or bachelor's degree programs. So like I said, both Eastern and Western medicine. And while you're not going to share classes with any of these programs, we do frequently come together for what we call interprofessional education, or IPE. So with IPE, once a semester, students get to participate in an activity where they get to engage with students from these other programs. And it's a great way for you to learn about the different healthcare professions that are out there and the spectrum of types of healthcare services, but also how to work with patients from different cultures and backgrounds, and ultimately how to work as a team once you're employed in the healthcare system. So, of course, the current state of the healthcare system, if you're not aware, could use some shaping up in the future. It's often described as like fragmented or uncoordinated or disorganized. So IPE is really the university's effort to remedy this for the next generation of healthcare leaders. We've really made it a part of our mission here. So when you're working in a clinical setting, there's like often a lot of discussion with referrals to other professions, and it's really likely that you're going to be working with patients who are seeking healthcare services from other professions. So it's just nice to understand how each of you can contribute to like the spectrum of healthcare services, all the better. For example, as an optometrist, you might be working with a patient who has low vision, and that patient might also be working with an occupational therapist. So while you're with us, you can at least be exposed to the work that an OT does and hopefully feel more comfortable collaborating with them in the future. So in terms of IPE events and seminars that we've done in the past, we have done a Narcan training, we've done dementia awareness, diabetes awareness, and each of these were kind of focused on the idea that no matter which profession you're pursuing, you're going to encounter patients who maybe have struggled with addiction, or who have dementia, or who have diabetes. So just being able to provide intervention in your own way has been very helpful for our students, and just understanding what their role is and how they compare to the abilities that other healthcare professions can offer. So I'd love to ask our students about their experience with IPE. What has been your favorite event so far, or what has been your experience like participating in these events with other students from different professions?
Sure. Yeah, I think my favorite IPE event was the first one that we did. So we got together with all the different programs, and we filled out a sheet of what like your program specifically could do. And then we kind of compared with all the different groups and learned the abilities of the different professions. So it really was just educational in terms of a lot of people didn't realize that in some states optometrists can do injections and things like that. Also learning about different programs being able to prescribe medicines, and just kind of opening your eyes to what the other fields can do. I have a friend who's in occupational therapy, and her and I have talked a lot about kind of that neuro going together between like the eyes and what she does. So it is kind of unique to have that experience.
Well, we only did them mainly in first year. because they were kind of required with our classes. But like moving forward, given like the different changes and like the requirements from our programs, we don't really have to do them anymore. But the only one I remember doing, it was with the opioid crisis. So I guess like myself being the optometry program, I worked with pharmacy students, nursing, dental hygiene. That's all I remember. We all kind of like worked on a solution to determine like what different like professions are involved and how to like deal with the crisis with with opioid overdose. So who can like administer the Narcan, and what an optometrist specifically would do versus what a dental hygienist would do in that kind of situation. So it is real world examples, and we do know that the opioid crisis is an ongoing issue. And as Hannah did mention, like just so many other like real world examples that pertain to like all these different programs.
Absolutely. Yeah, like Samir said, I mean, first year is when you really get to be involved with IPE, but with the optometry schedule, it gets a little bit difficult as you continue on with like different clinical commitments and such. So it does come optional as you advance throughout the program, but it is definitely a really great opportunity to partake in if you have the opportunity, you know, with your schedule in the future. But we have done some other collaborations with other professions, just one-on-one in the past. One of the favorite ones to hear about is one that we did with pharmacy students in the past, where we each found that we had a different recommendation for artificial tears to treat dry eyes. So that was more of a case study where we were able to understand like the pharmacist perspective when prescribing, you know, artificial tears versus the optometrists. We also have an ongoing collaboration with our PAs. Once every cohort, they'll teach us signs of concussion and traumatic brain injury, whereas we'll teach them how to use a slit lamp because that becomes really second nature for you as an optometry student. So it's just interesting to see how you can each collaborate together, learn a little bit from each other's expertise. And it's also nice to be able to support each other along our own like education journey. So you might have like a dental hygiene student approach you and be like, hey, I really need to clean someone's teeth today. Will you be my patient? And you can be like, yeah, like, can I check your eyes next week? Because I need a patient. So it's nice to be able to, you know, share the wealth and take care of your own health in the process. So getting into the meat and potatoes here of the presentation a bit more, speaking specifically about our Doctor of Optometry program, which I'm assuming you're all here for. This program does launch a new cohort every year, which is September, and we are a 4-year program, which is pretty standard. Our students have the opportunity to pursue a buy one, get one deal, as I like to call it, which is a Master of Public Health simultaneously with their optometry program. So this really starts in the second year of the program, and it adds just one online class each semester. So you can at least really take your first year of the program to suss out if you think that you can handle, you know, adding on those additional courses each semester before you make that dive. But it is a really great credential to add to your career if you're looking to go into like education or access and advocacy. I also want to point out some stats at the bottom of this slide regarding our residency match rate. So most recently, we've seen a 26% match rate for optometry students with an optometric residency. So to become an optometrist, of course, you don't need to necessarily pursue a residency. However, this does lead to a good opportunity to get into a certain specialty, to teach, or even to work in a VA facility. It really hyper accelerates your resume. You know, you're seeing a couple years worth of patients and just one through a residency program. But it is also important to note that only 1/3 of available residency spots are available to optometry students specifically. So it is really competitive to get into a residency, more so than it is to get into an optometry program in itself. So these residency programs are looking for the strongest clinicians possible. And that's really what we've been able to produce with the curriculum that we have for our students here. So we're really building optometrists that get their boots on the ground as early on as possible into the program and have a lot of great opportunities with the different patient populations that they will encounter throughout our program. So with that, I'd love to kind of take you through what each year of the program entails. Before we dive into that, just some more details about our program here. We do have some small class sizes. So there's about 60 to 65 students per cohort, and it's further broken down to 16 students per lab. But here you're not just another name on a roster. We really understand you as a living, breathing human being with your own unique sets of strengths and weaknesses. And our faculty are very collaborated throughout this process to sort of custom tailor the education to who you are as an individual. And I'd love to, kind of ask, our faculty member herself, Dr. O'Leary, if she can kind of go into detail about how our faculty are best able to support our students throughout the program.
Yeah, I think honestly, and I can relate it to my day today, is we try to make ourselves as available as we can to the students. Obviously, if we're in clinic or lab, when we have a scheduling conflict, we can't meet. But today, I didn't have lab, and literally every half an hour, I was meeting with students regarding a BV exam they took last week to talk about, what went wrong and different study strategies that they can approach going forward to be most successful in the course. So again, kind of truly what I think our strength is just making ourselves available to the students, knowing that they can come talk with us. Doesn't have to be after the exam, but it can be before the exam as well, just to make sure that they have concepts solidified. And I think just kind of piggybacking on what you said as well too, our small lab sizes is really where I feel we get to know the students. With most of our labs too, as mentioned here on the slide, especially our clinical skills labs, there's always 2 faculty members in those clinical skills labs. So it really is a time for our students to get more of that hands-on approach with faculty members.
Great, thank you so much. It's also too important to note that, not only do we have super approachable faculty members, but we also have some university support services in place to help you throughout the program. So we have the Center for Academic Success and Enrichment that has on-site counselors as well as peer tutors that can help students if they're struggling academically. We also have career services who can help students, with residency applications or writing resumes and applying to, jobs and such. As well as counseling services too, because we're not only interested in making sure that you're getting the academic support that you need, but also the personal support as well. So next, I would like to kind of dive into what each year of the program, really entails. So like I said, we're really a clinically focused institution. So you're going to have a plethora of opportunities to really get your hands dirty and experience different types of patient care. I will say, our population that we ultimately see here in Worcester, we are a city that is a sanctuary city. So what that means is that we receive patients from all over the world here. They come to the city as immigrants or refugee status, and the city helps them get jobs, housing, and even healthcare services. So a lot of them will come to MCPHS to get their eye care needs and sometimes their dental and physical therapy needs as well. So that is the population that our students do get to work with while they're with us. And the experiences that they get in our clinic is really second to none. Like I said, we receive patients from all over the world, so they might present pathologies that aren't typical of the United States and that you might not encounter very often in your future career. So it really prepares you for, a lot of the tools that you're going to need to be successful, not only in your career, but when you go on to take your board exams or even go into residency programs. So Sierra, I would love if I could pass this off to you to kind of take us through what year 1 and 2 of the program looks like, if you would.
Sure. So starting off in your first year, you're really taking more of those courseworks, more of that lab component. So you'll start off with courses like anatomy, histology, optics, really laying that foundation of what optometry is. And with that, we do have lab components too. So we do offer an anatomy lab as well as an optics lab. So you're literally learning things like how light will bend through something like a pair of glasses. And then we also offer our OTM courses, which is our optometric theory and method. And we do have 4 of those, and those are basically the foundations. If any of you worked as a tech, you might have a little familiarity with this. These are things like your first semester learning how to look at someone's pupils, cover test, things like that. Your second semester, we're working on the phoropter, so you're learning how to actually find someone's prescription, as well as some entering BV things, binocular vision. And then your third semester, you dive into the slit lamp and you get a chance to look at the front of the person's eye. And then your fourth semester, you get to look at the back of the person's eye, working with the slit lamp, as well as kind of a headset we have known as the BIO. So you're really getting that hands-on experience in that lab setting, and then jumping into second year is when you're starting to work actually with patients. So it is really a cool experience to work on that with your classmates, and then to take those skills and bring them into the clinic. So your second year is when you go into primary care. So really seeing a lot of those refractive errors, things like red eyes, really getting your first initial feet wet, as well as doing school screenings. So we have the privilege to go into different schools within kind of the Worcester community and provide them with school screenings, kind of seeing where they're at, anywhere between our kindergartners all the way up to high schoolers. So it is really a wide range of patients. It can kind of help you figure out if pediatrics may or may not be your stick early on. But it's really such a cool experience to get to do that and see when, you know, a student might be 7 or 8 years old and realizing for the first time they can't see as clearly as maybe they should. And then we do have a partnership with the Worcester Public Schools where they can come into our clinic and get a free eye exam and pair of glasses. And then we also do offer an optical rotation. So students will get a chance to rotate through that every semester. And really, you're getting a chance to see that prescription that maybe one of your classmates made in clinic and get to put that on a real patient and send them out into the real world. So doing things like verifying the prescription, adjusting the lens, helping a patient pick out a pair of frames, stuff that's really preparing you for that real world application.
Thank you, Sierra. That was a great overview. So that is the start of when our students do get to see patients, is in year 2. Whereas first year is more so, like Sierra said, the foundational year. So you'll do a lot of observing and sit as a patient yourself even, but it really prepares you for starting to see patients there in year 2. And then as we advance into year 3 and 4, Samir is going to take us through what you can expect there.
So in third year onwards, or I guess summer before third year, so 2.5 years, whatever we call them here, you're like initially going into the community health centers like once a week approximately. You are seeing like primary care eye examinations, so comprehensive eye examinations for patients who are like lower income. They may not have like the exact resources, the health insurance available. So they are given like free eye examinations when they come to these local community health centers by us. It's an interesting experience because I think like the first semester I was there, I didn't see any English speaking patient. So English, of course, is rarer to see. You're seeing a lot of Spanish, a lot of Portuguese patients. Some of my friends have seen like Nepali, Albanian. So it is an interesting experience to see how much like disease can vary among different ethnicities. With that, in addition to that, sorry, you're also at the Eye and Vision Center. You're exposed to like pediatric clinic, binocular vision therapy, low vision, glaucoma, and contact lens. There is a heavier emphasis on glaucoma and contact lens specialty clinics, because those are more, I guess, popular or more of a current theme that's seen within more patients once students graduate. Last semester, I was in glaucoma clinic and pediatrics clinic, so I saw so many glaucoma patients, even though most of them we diagnosed to not be glaucoma, more so like a glaucoma suspect. But at the end of the semester, I was able to diagnose like a secondary glaucoma, which was rare to see in that specific population, which was kind of cool because it didn't match exactly what we were taught in class. But the doctor who I work with said that not everything will follow your textbook rules. It's like that's the ideal, but at the end of the day, like it can happen to anybody. So it was cool that I saw that. And then this semester, I'm in contact lens clinics. So right now we're like fitting soft contact lenses, scleral contact lenses for like corneal diseases such as after LASIK or keratoconus, and then like helping with dry eye clinic and myopia management. So it is a cool experience that the school does offer to us. As I did say, we are seeing specialty, but we're also like a full day at a community health center, either in Framingham, Worcester, or Milford, seeing primary care comprehensive eye exams, which could be any kind of like issues that the patient may present with.
And I know you haven't gone into year 4 yet, but would you be able to kind of explain what students can expect when it comes to their externship sites and when they might hear about when those will be assigned?
For sure. So, ever since we started here, like our summer of first year or the summer of second year, there is no summer in third year. That's your first official like fourth year semester, so which is our first externship site time, I guess. So it's like a big lottery kind of system that's based off your clinics, grades, how your like academic career is, and then a lottery system based on how competitive each of the different rotation sites are. So at the end or like middle of your second year summer, right before third year, you have like a deadline to select different options for a community health center, for a Veterans Affairs or a VA hospital, or an elective of your choice. You rank them like 1, 2, 3 for each of the 3 different types. And then in the fall, kind of, you hear back. It's like a huge process based off your grades and clinical skill and everything. So most people I did talk to do receive their first, if not their second choice for their rotation. So and with that, the school does offer like a wide variety of different locations available. We have like locations across the country in Alaska, Florida, California. But given our school isn't within the New England region, we have a lot more New England sites compared to other locations. So it is a great experience the school does offer. And I do believe that the school does train you well, like in optometry school, to like move forward onto externship sites when you do go on to them in fourth year.
Thank you, Samir. That was a great overview from both of you. I appreciate that. And since neither of you have quite made it to fourth year, I'd love to kind of pick Dr. O'Leary's brain to see about what other aspects our prospective students can expect as they enter fourth year when it comes to like capstone projects and the board exams and such.
Yeah, so like Samir mentioned too, your fourth year is, patient care all day, every day, 40 hours of patient care. However, though, there are some different things throughout the entire fourth year that our students are responsible for. One of them being a capstone project, which may sound daunting, but it's really not. Our capstone project externship director does a great job of preparing the students for this. But essentially what it is the students are going to take a case that they've seen in their fourth year, and they're going to hopefully be able to present it at a national conference, which is AOA, or the American Optometric Association. They have an annual meeting called Optometry's meeting. So our students will submit abstracts for this meeting. And again, like I said, if their abstract is selected, then they would go on to present that poster at the meeting on a case they've seen. So it's a great time to think about how we can introduce scholarship into their optometric career. Sierra can attest to this, and Samir went through this, but during the second year right now, we're kind of having a stepping stone into that. And our second year students have to do a poster presentation as an assignment to really prepare them for this during their fourth year. Another part that you already brought up too was just residencies. During the fall semester of your fourth year is really when, if you're thinking about a residency, to start applying for that. One of our optometrists and faculty members here, Dr. Waldorf, who is also the director of our clinical programs, does host a kind of residency info night. So students will be informed of how to go through the process and really think about if residency is right for them and the way to go about it. And then also during your fourth year is when you're taking part 2 and 3 of national boards. So national boards is a 3-part exam in the US. The first part is third year of spring semester, which Samir is preparing for. But during your fourth year is when you take parts 2 and 3. So that's another aspect after your 9 to 5 of patient care to keep preparing for those additional board exams.
Thank you so much. And would you be able to kind of take us through the different program amenities and the bells and whistles that our program offers in terms of the resources that we have on campus when it comes to our clinic and our pre-clinic facilities and our VR magic room and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so I will say from a faculty standpoint, and I hope the students would agree with this too, but I feel really spoiled that we have all of the kind of latest and greatest diagnostic equipment. That is something that I feel the university has always been really supportive of. And if a faculty member feels like something is going to enhance patient care and really be beneficial to patients, like getting the latest and greatest OCTs, they are willing to spend money to make sure that our students have that available to them. So in the Eye and Vision Center, which is the picture of the front door there, or our on-campus clinic, where we have our specialty clinics, students will be able to use this equipment again to help further enhance, the better patient experience. Other things that we have as well too is a VR Magic or BIO simulator. So we have 2 of those, which is a really cool experience where the students can go in and practice on this VR headset where they're doing BIO to look at the back of the eye. And the cool thing about this that I like is it actually shows like real patient retinas. So the students can actually see disease and kind of tie that back to maybe what they learned in lecture, or maybe they had a patient with it and they're just kind of going back in to really review that disease process. And then we also have as well too, I brought up, our students are preparing for part 3. We do have a part 3 room where students can practice for this national board exam. Part 3 is right now a clinically based exam where students have to actually fly down to North Carolina. All optometry students, not just ours, but all optometry students have to fly down to North Carolina to take this exam. And we were able to get a room that has all the exact same equipment. So when it comes to those clinical skills exams, there's no question on if a student is familiar with that piece of equipment or not. They will be comfortable with that piece of equipment.
Great, thank you so much. So next, I just wanted to make you aware that although we, really hone in that we are a clinical institution and a clinically focused optometry program, if research is something that you are interested in, there are plenty of opportunities to collaborate with some of our faculty members. A lot of them are still working part-time in the field, either clinically or even being involved in research. So they certainly have opportunities for you to collaborate with them. Dr. O'Leary, would you be able to touch on some of the research opportunities that our students have participated in the past and maybe include a little bit about our collaboration with UMass?
Yeah, so like you touched upon, research is not required, but I always just like to say if a student is interested in research to make that known because they can be as little or as much involved in research as they want. One of our faculty members, Dr. Mahesh Shavana, has collaborated with UMass. He does more bench type research, not necessarily our clinically based research, but really looking at retinal neurons and how those are affected in inherited retinal disorders. And we have had students work with him and actually present posters, as I was talking about as well, on some of the research that they've done. We have collaborated with UMass too to look at a low vision type of device that's using a new pair of glasses for patients with visual field loss. So again, we're kind of working with them and actually some other programs as well to see if this new pair of glasses is going to be beneficial for patients with visual field loss. But again, all faculty, we have to do research as part of our faculty requirements. So there are things available. And again, it's just a matter of students asking to get involved and see where their research interests lie.
Absolutely. So that is definitely available to you if research is something that's important to you when you're considering your options for optometry school. But hopefully all these details that we went over today, excite you and you can see yourself here at MCPHS in our optometry program. So this next part of the presentation, I want to just kind of go over all of the details about how you can apply. So our application is through OptumCast, which is a centralized application system, and they'll help you go through all of the different requirements of documentation that you need in order to complete your application. So some of those details include a bachelor's degree, or at least 90 semester hours of credits. So you don't necessarily have to complete a bachelor's degree, although it is preferred that candidates do have one before starting the program. We do have a requirement for all official college transcripts to OptumCAS. So even if you did just one random course at a community college one summer, that is something that you will need to include in your OptumCAS application, and your application won't be verified until they have all official transcripts on file for you. Competitive applicants have a 3.0 or above. We do require OAT or GRE scores. There is a little bit more of a preference to the optometry admissions test, the OAT, just because it is specifically designed for optometry programs. So if you're considering one or the other, we typically have a little bit more of a preference for the OAT if possible. Shadowing experience is also great to see. You know, I always like to use the analogy, if you're going to buy a car, you want to test drive it. Same goes with your optometry career. So if you have that opportunity to shadow an optometrist, it's highly recommended, just because, you know, this is going to be your career. We want to make sure that you are not only passionate about it, but can see and envision yourself, you know, serving these roles in the future. So I highly recommend that you look into getting some shadowing experience, or maybe work as a tech or an assistant or even a receptionist, anything to kind of get your foot in the door in sort of a clinical optometry environment is always great. We do have a number of prerequisite course requirements that are listed on our website. So things like Bio 1 and 2, Chem 1 and 2, Organic Chem, microbiology, and several others. So our complete list is on our website if you want to take a look there. We do require that prerequisite courses be completed by August 15th before you start the program. So if you have a course or two outstanding, you don't need to necessarily hold off on submitting your application, because we can review your application knowing that you have a couple of courses in progress or planned throughout the summer. We do require at least one letter of recommendation. One question that I get asked a lot is, you know, what a good letter of recommendation would be. We typically ask for it to be in a professional or academic nature. So if you're getting it from like a professional background, it would be like a manager or supervisor who can really speak to your work ethic, or from an academic background, like a science professor or an academic advisor who can really speak to your academic performance. And also, if you've done any shadowing or worked in the optometry field as, you know, like a tech or whatnot, it's great to get one from an optometrist as well, if possible, but it's not required. If you are an international student or have completed a degree or even a chunk of coursework outside of study abroad internationally, we do require a WES or an ECE evaluation for your transcript. So this just tells us the equivalency of your transcripts in like a US equivalency realm. So that way we're better to understand, you know, what does this course count for? Can we count it towards any of our prerequisite requirements, or better understand the degree that you earned internationally? So this is only for students, like I said, who have completed a degree abroad or completed, you know, a couple years or whatnot worth of courses. And last but not least, we do interview by invitation only. So if I can stress one thing to you, it would be to apply early. We do operate on a rolling admissions basis. So as we send out decisions and fill seats, you know, we fill them, and there might not be some towards the end of the cycle. So to not miss out on seats, we always encourage students to apply early. That would be the last thing that you want to do is submit your application late and then there not be any seats left. So our deadline is May 1st of 2024 to submit your OptumCAS application, and we do accept OAT scores or GRE scores up until May 31st. So just keep that in mind, as May 1st is quickly approaching. And we determine competitive applications by looking at your GPA. Just know that OptumCAS is going to calculate several GPAs for you, but the ones that we will really be looking at is your cumulative GPA, your science GPA, and your prerequisite GPA. So your cumulative GPA is a accumulation of all the coursework that you've completed in your college level coursework. So if you have repeated a course or failed a course, just know that that will be calculated in your overall cumulative GPA as well as your total science GPA if it's a science course, of course. So with that, you know, if you have repeated courses, your GPA might be calculated a little lower than you were expecting. So just want to preface that because sometimes I get students that are a little alarmed that maybe it wasn't what they were expecting when they filled out their application. And then your prerequisite GPA is something that we calculate ourselves. So we will take the highest grade earned in a prerequisite equivalent course and match them to our requirements and calculate your GPA based on that. So that prerequisite GPA does not include any repeated courses, just the highest attempt earned. We also want to see that you're interested and have experience and motivation towards your career in optometry. And you can really convey that through your personal statement as well as the different supplemental questions that we'll ask you. We don't have like a supplemental application, but when you designate your application to MCPHS, there will be some supplemental questions with OptumCast that you will be asked. You know, things like, why do you want to apply to MCPHS? Where did you hear about us from? So we do like to see some good answers here. So I'd encourage you to put some thought into those responses, do some research, and, you know, coming here to this information session, you probably learned quite a bit that hopefully you can attest to when you do complete your application and answer those questions. And I do also want to let you know that we have financial aid available for all domestic students. So if you want to apply to the FAFSA, you are more than welcome to do so. Grad Plus student loans are certainly available through FAFSA as well. We do also award merit-based scholarships for all students. So everyone admitted into the program will be considered for a scholarship. They are up to $12,000 for domestic students and a little bit more for our Canadian students, just given the exchange rate is not really in your favor. So we try to help you out as best as we can in that realm. We do have specifically for our Canadian applicants, I like to call her our Canadian correspondent, Krista Levac. She does work with our candidates from Canada that are interested in applying to the program. So she's happy to assist you with any questions that you might have about, like, you know, what licensure would be like for a Canadian student doing courses in the US or visas and whatnot. So I'm happy to connect you with her if that applies to you, of course. But that being said, we understand that graduate school is a huge commitment. So we're always happy to help you out. If you have any financial related questions or concerns, we do offer affordability appointments with our student financial services team. And I'd be happy to connect you with our student financial services team so you can really dive into the financial implications of the program with them. But that being said, you know, MCPHS has been ranked time and time again as one of the most transformational colleges in the US, because ultimately, when you pursue a degree in healthcare, they are, you know, pretty reliable careers. They often make quite good money. So we've seen a big economic turn for students who do pursue a degree with us, you know, because these careers are often earn quite good money and can help advance your career and your future in a lot of different ways. So we do think it is a good return on investment, especially optometry. You know, this is a career that is going to get you some really great opportunities in the future. So last but not least, I just wanted to share some links that might be helpful for you, including our tour. We have both a virtual tour and in-person tour. I'm going to paste this information in the chat so that way you guys can hang on to it if you would like. Now is often also a really great time to submit any questions that you might have. We have a couple more minutes until the hour, so we'll hang out here and answer any additional questions that you might have. If you have any questions for our students or for Dr. O'Leary, we'd be happy to tackle those for you. But also, if you're looking for some more content on our optometry program, we have some great videos on our YouTube channels at MCPHS TV and at MCPHS Admissions. There's one with our labs in action and our clinic, so you can kind of see the day in and day out of what that entails. On the MCPHS admissions page, we did a Q&A with some of our faculty members where we kind of tackled some commonly asked questions that prospective students do have. So that would be one that I recommend if you are looking for some good content there. And I also left my contact info as well. So if you have any questions about applying, I would be happy to assist you. I do also offer one-on-one appointments. So feel free to email me and I'd be happy to share that link with you. So while we wait for some questions to roll in, I would love to pose one to our current students and just ask if you could kind of take us through what a typical day in a life as a second year and third year student, how do you go through your day? How much free time do you ultimately have? I know it's not much, but you make the best of it.
So this is like the spring semester of my third year, so my final like didactic lecture semester, I guess. So I have one full day of clinic at EMK Milford. So it's a community health center, about 45 minutes drive from here. That's usually Mondays, but as Monday was a day off or a holiday yesterday, I didn't have that day. Tuesday usually this week is like a lab day, but labs this week were canceled because of the Monday holiday, but it's for our advanced methods class. So one thing we didn't, I guess, mention is that like our school does provide students like the highest scope of practice, like understanding and like learning the specific skills. So in the advanced methods class, we're learning how to do like intravenous, intramuscular injections, and then like suture removal and closure. And then we're learning about like different laser applications to the eye and how they could be like beneficial with therapeutic like treatments. And then there's like foreign body removal, which is all like taught in this specific course, which is what the lab we have is where we kind of like learn to do those skills on different like dummy eyes. And then Wednesday is my day off by default. And then Thursday, I'm in like half day, either in the optical or like the part 3 room where we will like can do like practice for the national, like part 3 of national boards or study for part 1 of national boards. And then in the afternoon, I'm in specialty contact lens clinic at the Eye and Vision Center, seeing specific patients with contact lenses. And then Friday, all day, 8 to 4, 8 to 3 is what our classes are. So it all depends on every week and all depends if the professor or so many things it depends on. But usually right now we're in practice and business management, special populations, and then research and statistics, and then advanced theory and methods. So the class load is lower and clinic is higher, but at the same time, boards part 1 is less than a month away. So most of my free time is spending on that, studying for that right now.
Great, thank you, Samir. Sounds like you do a lot of a clinic time now that you're in year 3 versus what our first and second year students have. Sierra, I'm sure you can kind of attest to this. You might be spending a little bit more time in the classroom than Samir at this point.
Yeah, my days look a little bit different than Samir's. Right now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for me is 8 to 4. And then Tuesday I have lab, which is about 2 hours, so I'm done by 10. And then Thursday, I have clinic, so from 8 to around noon. So a little bit fuller, but a little bit more academic heavy, working my way towards more clinic.
Great. Well, thank you guys. We had just one more question come in, just asking about GRE scores. And typically when we're reviewing GRE scores, we want to see them in the 50th percentile or above range. So generally that's about like a 150 verbal, 150 quantitative, I would say. Another question did come in. This will be just the last one that I tackle before we round stuff up. And it was just about taking post-grad studies internationally. Ultimately, that is something that we will need a transcript for. As you know, if you did complete any coursework and completed a grade and the course is done, we will ultimately need to send OptumCast that information. Even if it's not a prerequisite course, again, we need all coursework on file, as it all is taken into consideration when like compounding GPAs and such. So that is something that you will ultimately need to provide. So that takes us to the hour, 5 o'clock. So thank you guys for joining us. I hope that you learned a lot throughout this info session. And if anything does pop up, take down my contact info. I would love to connect with you and kind of share any additional details about applying and what you can expect from the program. So don't hesitate to reach out. Want to thank our current students and Dr. O'Leary for also joining us this evening. I know that you're very busy, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to speak with us. It was a pleasure to hear from you. And we hope to, see you here on campus soon. Take care, everyone, and enjoy the evening. Bye.